Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good of us from Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful October the 4th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, it's been a beautiful day for reminiscing down here. You know, I was reaching back 40, 50 years, thinking about that I was young at one point in life and,
Yep.
you know, going over scenarios that I did then and how they would translate now. But then I woke up. I found out I was dreaming.
You were just dreaming, Big C. Hey, they say dream is good for the soul, Big C. Also good for the soul is the sports universe. So many things happening in the sports universe. A great baseball game last night. If you're the Oakland A's, it was good to be in the playoffs. It was great for Major League Baseball because now they have their best rival, Big C, that American League East, and you have the Yankees and you have the Red Sox. So that New York media is really loving it. Also, you know, football's going on strong, and a lot of people are really enjoying what's going on in the sports universe. We have Tom Brady playing a big old, that what they call him, big luck. We wish people good luck or big luck, Big C. We wish him luck. We wish Andrew luck. He's going to need a lot of it. I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, I know we talked about last night. There's something about sports, and whether it's sports or politics, religion, it all ties together. That Yankee game last night, to see that stadium packed to the rafters the way it was, and we had just talked about the A's and that Yankees rivalry with Billy Martin and the Steinbrenner, and then we talked about Reggie Jackson and all them good old boys that play for both teams, Giambi, etc. Give me your thoughts on the feeling of how great Major League Baseball is when we're playing at Yankee Stadium, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, this was the hollow grounds of baseball being at Yankee Stadium. And, you know, for baseball, it got it right last night with the Yankees winning. You got the best two teams in baseball going to face off in the AL semifinals,
Yeah.
in the best of five
Yeah.
between the Yankees and the Red Sox. And we talked about in that game last night, great pitching versus the long ball. That, you know, that's what the Yankees bring to the party. They bring the long ball. They got some big bats. 7 guys that hit over 20 home runs this year, Charlton.
Yep.
And it's going to be a great matchup. You got two teams that both won over 100 games in the same division, Charlton, going to face each other. This is what should happen in baseball. The A's did a marvelous job of just making to the wild card game, Charlton. You think about the smallest payroll in all of baseball,
Yeah.
being able to be competitive, and really being the hottest team in baseball after the All-Star break, Charlton, which really catapulted them to that point. But, you know, you can only run on momentum for so long, Charlton. The
Yeah.
better team, and that's what should always occur. When you look at professional sports, look at collegiate sports, Charlton, the best team should always represent. I know every now and then you get a team that just jumps in there and by
Yep.
luck goes all the way.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a service to the better athletes, the better coaches, managers, Charlton, when the best teams prevail.
Yeah, I think what I noticed, Big C, is when you look, well, out here on the West Coast, obviously the games end late, but on the East Coast, they end about midnight or sometimes in the following day. And you and I have talked about this, sports will bring our society together. And when you look at, and I'm going to say something so stupid for a West Coast guy, I'm kind of glad that the Yankees beat the A's. Not because I'm partial to any team, but the stadium was filled to the rafters. Could you imagine if they topped off the top part of Yankee Stadium, keeping some 10 to 15,000 fans from coming to the game? Because they won't open up that part of the stadium, only because they can't get on TV if they don't sell the majority of their tickets. But I've always said, and you said the same thing too, why can't you just give away some tickets for a lot of young people that would be next generation's baseball fans? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, baseball misses the boat on many occasions when you look at these stadiums throughout the season, not just here in the playoffs. but throughout the season. When you think about all the youth leagues that are in the cities where they have professional baseball teams, Charlton, we have underprivileged children that cannot afford to go to these games. I mean, all you got to do is go to the Boys and Girls Club or go to any, minor league baseball, these youth league baseball, commissioners, Charlton, and pass out the tickets.
Yeah.
That these tickets are for kids only. If the parents want to come, let the parents buy a ticket.
Yeah.
But to devoid these children of these opportunities in America, I mean, we're a country of gluttony and waste.
Yeah.
And you waste the opportunity to bring in a new generation. When we look at baseball, minority kids don't come anymore into the major leagues. I mean, they go down to Latin America and get the kids.
Yeah.
Because the American kids don't get a chance to get exposed.
Yeah.
When we look at inner city America, Charlton, where most major league teams are, they don't have youth baseball anymore because those fields have been taken up and built houses on them, Charlton, because it was more economical for some developers to buy up that youth field, Charlton. So most of these fields now are out in the suburbs.
Yep.
And those inner city kids, Charlton, don't have the transportation or even live in those districts where they can sign up for those leagues. It's just like in voting, Charlton. You take something away, there's no longer participation.
Yeah.
So when you look at minority or lack of minority participation, Charlton, look at the housing around these stadiums. You can provide those free tickets when those, I saw a game earlier this year, and we talked about Baltimore losing well over 100 games this year. They had an attendance one time of less than 1,400.
1,400.
And the Chicago White Sox, who also lost over 100 games, Charlton, had an attendance just a little over 900 one game.
Wow.
You're going to tell me you couldn't have gone out and found a couple thousand, youth baseball players, Charlton, that would have loved to attend the game? They didn't care about who won.
Yeah.
Just to have the experience of being in a major league ballpark.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible. I remember when I was a young boy sneaking into the Coliseum and also Candlestick Park. There were times Candlestick Park had some openings. And I had some friends in San Francisco. We go to the games and watch the Giants play or watch the 49ers play. Back in the days of Gene Washington, they had that AstroTurf, but they didn't seal all the parts of the stadium, and there was not as much concern over whether or not somebody was going to get in. Maybe some good old boys left those openings there for those kids that could not afford it. But if you think about what baseball is going to do for the next generation, it's almost like walking through a mall, Big C. You ever go get one of those free back rubs, Big C, where they give you 5 minutes of back rub, just enough to feel good, but not enough to fall asleep, Big C? They realize that works, and that's how they sell those massage chairs and those massage tables. And I'm just wondering what it's going to take for baseball to figure that out. Oakland hasn't figured it out. I know Major League Baseball would rather see the Yankees than the A's, not because they're partial, because it's an eyesore if you have a playoff game and half of your stadium disappears. So hopefully the A's will change something about that. I do want to get your thoughts on going forward. You have that flamethrower, Chapman, for the Yankees. I know he has a little hitch in his giddy up, but when a guy can come in as a closer and he's throwing 99 to 100 miles per hour, Big C, he's awfully hard to deal with. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they were getting that from their starter last night. I mean, the Yankees lineup, they went into that game last night, Charlton, with 8 pitchers in the bullpen.
Yeah.
So they always have fresh arms. You got to look at it from this perspective. You have 3 starters when you go into the playoffs.
Yep.
Everybody else is in the bullpen. So you basically have 10 pitchers in the bullpen that you can utilize at any time. So we talked about it last night. You always want to keep that fresh arm. You really don't want your starting pitcher to see a batter for the 3rd time in the lineup, Charlton.
Yep.
Because now he's figured him out by that time.
Yeah.
So if you got plenty of fresh arms around, Charlton, it makes a difference. And when we look at these games and you don't get the run scored, and that's what the Yankees did last night. They brought in their relief pitcher in the 5th inning, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's when they started. So the A's were constantly looking at fresh arms, Charlton. The starter threw in the 90s until they took him out of the game.
Yeah.
And so when you're always looking at heat, Charlton, it's very difficult to catch up with those balls, and that's what the A's had problems with last night.
Yeah, that's a big statement there, and I love, and you talked about it before, and I didn't even think about it until you said it. When you think about guys like Hank Aaron, they often saw the starter even into the 9th inning, and Babe Ruth, they would see starters going into the 9th inning, so they didn't have that same speed pitching the baseball that they had in the first 5 or 6 innings, Big C, and that's why a lot of them hit their home runs late in the innings. I want to get your thoughts, though. We talk about how great Barry Bonds was. Mark McGwire, Canseco, Socha. Do you think that this kid Chapman would be as dominant against Barry Bonds? Could you imagine watching him pitch against Barry Bonds or someone like Reggie Jackson, Mr. October Big C, back in the day?
Well, Charlton, I think against Reggie he would have been effective. Against Barry, no. Barry hit everybody, Charlton.
Yeah.
There was no fear in him. I mean, he was the greatest contact hitter that we've seen in modern baseball. You got to look at the number of times that Barry Bonds was walked and never given the opportunity. He chased a lot of bad pitches, Charlton.
Yeah.
Chapman would have challenged him. He would have taken Chapman out of the park like he did every other pitcher, Charlton,
Yeah.
that he faced.
Yep.
You know, and baseball transcends eras, though, when you look at it. For certain pitchers could pitch in any era. We talk about Chapman. I don't think that Chapman is as dominant a pitcher as Bob Gibson was.
Oh, really?
You got to realize what Bob Gibson was in his day.
Yeah.
And he altered the game of baseball. Nolan Ryan, Charlton, was that fastball pitcher at 100-plus miles an hour.
Yeah.
So we've seen the baseball pitchers over the era pitch like Chapman and pitch more than 1 or 2 innings. These were starting pitchers, Charlton.
Yeah.
So Chapman is he's something that's different in baseball now because the craft of the game is not what it used to be. When we talked yesterday about the batting average in the major league being 248.
Exactly.
You know, guys don't take it serious about hitting, because they know that they have these guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
40 years ago, Charlton, it was a craft. Baseball players took it seriously about hitting.
Yeah, that's true. And I would love if we could go back in time and see some of those matchups, but I just appreciate baseball. Baseball right now is like Christmas. You bring out your fine silverware, you bring out your best dishes, and you actually take some of that plastic stuff. You know how grandparents would have that plastic stuff on the sofa, the big seat, and so the bad grandkids couldn't come in and dirty up all the good things. As baseball's like that. They have the bunting out there, you have the fans who are into it, and I really love the fact that the young kids are getting into it. One more thing about the Bay Area media. There are people saying that what's going to cost the Oakland A's is that they won't spend a lot of money on baseball. And they need to spend more money on baseball and break the bank the way the 49ers did with Garoppolo. I disagree with that. Even being one of the lowest inning, I guess, income-wise teams in Major League Baseball, they were actually competing in a playoff spot where there are a lot of teams that spend a whole lot more money than the A's that were watching from home. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the Yankees payroll, it's 3 times what the A's was.
Yeah.
And they played in the same game last night.
Yeah.
It's not always about money. Money looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can bring in the superstar player, but the superstar has to perform, Charlton. When we look at superstars in Major League, you look at Giancarlo Stanton, who the Yankees picked up this year. Huge contract.
Yep.
I mean, he hit 21 home runs less this year than what he hit last year.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Same player, 21, 22 different home runs less than what he did the year before.
Yeah.
His batting average was down, Charlton. He struck out over 200 times.
Yeah.
So you're not guaranteed of having a superstar who's going to produce just because you pay him the money.
Yep.
The Yankees have always been, because of the media market they're in, Charlton, have always had one of the elite payrolls in baseball.
Yeah.
And the East Coast markets tend to be that way, Charlton. Oakland is a created market. New York is a market that's always been there. You think about in its heyday when it had the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yankees all in the one city, Charlton. This is long before the Mets came along.
Yeah.
It was the dominant market in baseball. It's just the dominant market in media. And you talk about East Coast games being paid.
Yeah.
The revenue is just generated out there, Charlton, because people are not going to fall asleep watching a West Coast game.
Yeah.
You watch the Dodgers, once this series starts, Charlton.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people on the East Coast that's going to be up when that game is over.
Yeah. That's true, and it's a series I really want to see. I love the Atlanta and Dodgers, just the setting. You have the South, the deep South, and then you have the southern part of California with LAX and all of those great players that play for both teams and great sports that played in both parts of the country. I think the thing with the Oakland A's, it's almost like the biblical saying in Matthew 14 through 18, Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fishes and he fed everybody. And we talked about that before. You talked about something that was so poignant yesterday. Are you bigger than the team? Are you more than the team? And you have that story tonight, and we'll touch on it when we get into football. But with baseball, sometimes you can get more with less than giving some players all of the money, and you can't surround them with other great players. It's not about the money. It's about the ability to play for the game. And Big C, you brought it up before, and I started Googling stuff you say because I want to make sure you're not pulling the wool over my head. A lot of times when guys sign those lifetime contracts, it takes away their incentive to compete. And oftentimes they start playing not to get hurt because they got that guaranteed $100 million. And why go out and risk yourself when you can lighten up and you're still going to get the same money whether you win or not? And I think that's starting to ring true. And someday, maybe these owners will realize that you got to give guys incentive, not money that makes them play better. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's franchise rule of players that have matriculated all through all the professional sports, Charlton. When you look at these guys that are getting these huge absorptive contracts, and we mentioned regardless of the league, Charlton, there's only one champion a year.
Yeah.
And generally the highest paid player in the league is not in those championship games on average, unless you're looking at the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only league that it just comes to fruition because they find a way to get the elite players in the championship.
Yeah.
But in baseball, you can't control that because there's so many individual players, Charlton, in baseball.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can have a dominant pitcher, you can have dominant hitters, you can have both on your roster.
Yeah.
But it doesn't guarantee you a championship. It's about guys performing at the right time. You know, we talk about the Chicago Cubs, who've won more games than any team in the National League over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But you got to look at their last 45, 50 games of the season, Charlton. They never generated more than 2 runs, seem like.
Yeah.
You know, even in the last 2 games they played, they could only muster 1 run.
Yep.
Now, you got to tell me that those guys, all of a sudden, that bat just went sleepy? And for 22 innings in their last 2 games, Charlton, they could only muster up 2 runs. What is that worth financially?
Yeah.
You know, was the other pitcher that good? Was the players that tired, or they just could not hit any longer?
Yeah, that might be some of the case. And you know, as an athlete, I think you worked harder to make a team than you did to kind of coast and keep all that money. In fact, I think that's true for a lot of athletes. They just don't come out and say it. But most people, once you eat too much food, Big C, you're not willing to go back to the table. It's when you're starving that you do what it takes to get a second plate of food, Big C. And speaking of starving, you have Milwaukee and you have Colorado. They're starving for a championship. It's not the sexiest series, though. If you would tell me that as a Southern guy, you're probably more looking forward to seeing the Atlanta Braves and the LA Dodgers than you are to see the Milwaukee Brewers and then the Colorado Rockies. I know everybody has a chance to compete, but who moves the needle, Big C? When you think about watching baseball, I would have loved that they manufacture things anyway. Why not manufacture a Cubs beat in the series, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at Colorado, they're one of those new come-along franchises. Charlton has been around the past couple of decades.
Yeah.
Milwaukee has been in Major League Baseball for a long time. That was the original home of the Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
They were the Milwaukee Braves when Hank Aaron started. They moved to Atlanta in the 60s, and Milwaukee was without a baseball team, Charlton, until the Brewers came along.
Yeah.
But, you know, they have a marvelous facility. And when you think about playing baseball in the Midwest this time of year, Charlton, they have the best setting for it because they have a dome stadium. When you think about some World Series that's been in Kansas City, St. Louis, places like that, Charlton, where it's been freezing, even on the East Coast, New York and Boston.
Yeah.
When the temperature's dipping down in the 30s and 40s. We saw that in Cleveland a couple years ago.
Yeah.
With the Cubs and the Indians. It was miserable for the players and the fans, Charlton.
Yeah.
Playing up in the Northeast this time of year. You're getting snow on the field. But, you know, it's to those people in that region of the country, Charlton, it's like Christmas.
Yeah.
They've got something that they're not accustomed to, okay? It doesn't come along all the time. People in Boston and New York get spoiled because they've always been in the mix. Milwaukee, they haven't been in the World Series since back in the 80s when they had Gorman Thomas and Robin Yount on the roster.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is something that they're reminiscing about, and it's big time there, Charlton. They'll have a pack house with blistering fans. And they had the best record in the National League this season, Charlton, so it was rightful that they're there. Yeah,
they earned their way there, Big C. And I want to just say congratulations to everybody. I love this time, the hunt for October, the championships. This is what it's all about when you're playing any kind of sport. You want to be in the playoffs where you at least have a chance to compete for a championship. As we kick the ball into the NFL tonight, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And talked about the Milwaukee Brewers, you know, moving from Atlanta, from Milwaukee down to Atlanta. When I say the Indianapolis Colts, I still want to say the Baltimore Colts, thinking back to the days of the great Johnny Unitas. But you have the Indianapolis Colts with a quarterback and Andrew Luck, not Johnny Unitas by any means. And now they're playing the Patriots, the new Johnny Unitas and Tom Brady, Big C. Your thoughts on how they're supposed to be the same kind of players, the same type of team leaders. But Andrew takes all the money, and they don't have a lot to put around them. Brady takes very little money so they can build a good team around him. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you look at Andrew Luck, the amount of games that he's played in the past 2 years, Charlton, is not enough to move the needle.
No.
He's being paid, expeditiously by the coach management. Because, he was looked at as being the best quarterback to come out of college since John Elway.
Out of Stanford, yeah.
Even though it hasn't proved out that way. His first couple of years in the league, Charlton, he had double-digit wins, but he's fallen off since then.
Yeah.
And he's had continuous injuries. He went over 630 days without playing a game.
Yeah.
So you think about that, but he got paid.
Yeah.
And when you look at this roster, you don't have a lot of cap space to upgrade certain positions. This is a team that last week, Charlton, Andrew Luck threw the ball 63 times.
Yeah.
The Colts ran the ball 12 times.
Wow.
Ran it 12 times. He ran 3 of those.
Yeah.
So there were 3 plays that he ran the football, 9 plays by running back.
Yep.
That means you don't have balance in your offense.
Yeah.
When we look at Andrew Luck, he's constantly getting praise about how good he is as a quarterback, how he's taking the team to the next level. They need him to win. You look at another quarterback that plays in the Southeast, Cam Newton, Charlton.
Yeah.
Very similar physical characteristics, size, speed, and all of that. At the combine, there was only like 0.2 seconds difference in their 40 times.
Wow.
Cam Newton, though, doesn't get the praise from the media that Andrew Luck does. Cam Newton has been the league MVP. He's gone to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck hasn't done these things, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he keeps getting praised by the media as the next great quarterback.
Yeah.
He has done more to go down than he has to come up, Charlton. He can't push the ball down the field anymore.
Yeah.
His mobility, he's a little nervous about that because he doesn't want to get hit in the open field because he's no longer protected as a quarterback.
Yeah.
So when you look at him in this game tonight, Charlton, the Colts have lost their last 9 games against the Patriots.
Wow.
Bill Belichick sends him a Christmas card every time they play. Okay?
Yeah.
He's not worried.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck has lost 5 consecutive games against the Patriots.
Yep.
So when you talk about somebody figuring somebody out, Peyton Manning got lucky a couple times against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And people want to call this a rivalry. It's no rivalry when you lose 9 consecutive games. So.
Yeah, the Hatfields and McCoys, that was a rivalry, but it was more a fair footing. Brady actually has, but again, it's not that Brady has beaten Luck. Look at what Brady did with the paycheck. He took less to have more. And it's a lot like the lemon law. If you go out and buy a vehicle, if it's not what you pay for, you can actually take it back and get your money back, or they have to at least replace it. They don't just say, hey, you bought it, that's your fault. They don't do that anymore, Big C. What would it take for the team leader? Because quarterbacks are held as the prodigal sons of the team. They're held as a team leader for the community and the face of the franchise. If you know your franchise is hurting because they don't have a line that can keep you upright, you're always throwing land on your back. What would a leader do? A leader would go back to that ownership and say, look, you gave me too much money. In order for me to stay healthy and help this team win, it'd be great for our fans. Let's take some of the money away from what you gave me. I know you gave me a guaranteed contract, but let's redo it because I want to get more money to get a better offensive line or sometimes defensive players. Big C, would that be better leadership skills than saying, hey, I got mine, you got yours, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if I'm the guy to question about that. Maybe somebody want to call Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger right now can really tell you about that scenario, just like Troy Aikman could tell you back in the 90s when Emmitt Smith didn't show up.
Yeah.
Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers offense since the first game of the season, and they tied the first game and should have lost that game, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Steelers actually should be no wins right now when you think about it.
Yep.
This last game against Baltimore, 14 points is all they were able to produce offensively.
Yeah.
James Conner, the running back, 19 yards on 16 carries.
Wow.
Everyone was singing his praise, Charlton, after that first game against the Browns when he had 130 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about, hey, this is just the first game.
Yeah.
People will figure him out. The NFL is not that easy. It's not, especially for young running backs, Charlton.
Yeah.
And here's a situation where Ben Roethlisberger is talking about he has to be more consistent about what he's doing. Well, he's been consistent of not being good.
Yeah.
That's what he's been consistent of.
Yeah.
But no one is saying any of these quarterbacks, Charlton, are being overpaid. Look at your cousin up in Minnesota.
He's not my cousin.
He's being overpaid.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's won one game this year.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan in Atlanta.
Yep.
He's won one game.
Yep.
$155 million.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying he's being overpaid.
Nope.
You look at Detroit, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
No one's saying he's been overpaid. He's won one game. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's gone for the year.
Yeah.
He's not being overpaid.
No.
Derek Carr, you know, the officials did everything they could to get him a win last week.
Yep.
He's not being overpaid.
Yeah.
When you go up and down the ledger, no one is crying about these quarterbacks getting paid. They say, well, you got to have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, I've been watching football and participating in football for a long time, Charlton.
Yeah.
I went from the first Super Bowl to the last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And in the 52 Super Bowls, Charlton, that there have been, 51, whatever it is, I lose track of time once I get past two.
Yeah.
You know, there's only been one Super Bowl winning quarterback every year.
Yep.
Every year. So when you talk about franchise quarterbacks, there's been two quarterbacks in the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah.
So we can roughly say that there's been 104 starts by quarterbacks in the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
104 starts. There's been 51 wins or so.
Yep.
That's it. You know, so you can only say there's 51 franchise quarterbacks. And a lot of those quarterbacks have won on multiple occasions, Charlton.
Yep.
So how many franchise quarterbacks has there ever been in the NFL? And you can count that up every year.
Yeah.
You look every year, Charlton, and every fan out there, look how many quarterbacks that are in the top 15 being paid in the league. And we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
That you either a first-round draft pick or the minimum you make is $16 million. Unless you're Dak Prescott, you make $800,000.
Yeah, minimum wage. Yeah.
That's it. He's making $800,000 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. The next lowest paid quarterback in the NFL makes $16 million.
Yep. So
show me how many of those guys are franchise quarterbacks.
They need Jerry Maguire to say, show me the money. That's what they need, Big C. So when you talk about quarterbacks and getting paid based on performance, on Sunday, Drew Brees is set to break the NFL's all-time passing yardage record, is the only player left in the NFL from that draft year of 2001. He doesn't look anything like what they call the prodigal quarterback. He's not 6'4", 6'5". He's not a guy that can throw the ball 90 yards downfield, you know, on his backside, what some people say about Josh Allen. But he has a leadership skill, and I still say, as a 39-year-old man, when he ran left in his game, I think against Atlanta, he ran left, and instead of running out of the bounds or going to the ground, Big C, he spun around, he shook the defenders, and ran into the end zone for a touchdown. The Saints went marching in. He is everything that you should want for an NFL quarterback. He's never in trouble. He's never a person of controversy. He leads by example, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at Drew Brees, Charlton, he is nothing what the prodigal NFL quarterback is supposed to look like. He throws away that myth of what you got to have, that 6'4", 6'5" guy with that rocket cannon arm, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like a supermodel.
Yeah.
That's what has been the MO for quarterbacks in the NFL. In management's mind around the NFL, Drew Brees is like a little black guy.
Yeah.
That's what he's like.
Good looking.
Yeah. You know, he doesn't fit the mold of what we want.
No.
He's not sellable. You know, he had a scar on his face with a birthmark something.
We won't ask where that scar came from, Big C. Scarface is my favorite movie of all time.
Very minimal commercial exposure.
Yep.
You know, there's guys not in football any longer to get more commercial exposure than Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Drew Brees holds all the records come Sunday.
All of them, yep.
He needs 201 yards to break the yardage record.
Wow.
And when people say, well, you know, if you stand there and you look at him, he's not the guy that you want. Think about it. Nick Saban didn't want him when he was coaching in Miami. He took Dante Culpepper instead. We saw Nick Saban was gone a year later.
Yeah.
Okay? He couldn't coach it in there because he didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
But Drew Brees has stood the test of time, Charlton. He's defeated all the critics. You know, he's passed for all the yards you can possibly pass for, thrown more passes than anybody, and does it consistently every year, Charlton.
Yeah.
You think about quarterbacks around the NFL. And you say, yeah, and he's in New Orleans, so you know you want to hang out with him. He's in New Orleans.
And that deep fried food.
Certain quarterbacks around the NFL said, let's go hang out.
Yeah.
You're like, no, man, I don't want to be with you. If Eli Manning said, let's go hang out,
Right.
are you going to want to go hang out with Eli Manning?
Probably
No.
not.
If Drew Brees said, let's go hang out,
Yep.
you don't like, yeah, Drew, let's go down and get a dozen oysters and a couple of cold ones and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
He has that moxie about it.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to Katrina, Charlton, after the hurricane and they restored the dome down in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees led that team out on the field. Drew Brees was out in the middle of the huddle. Normally you lead after some defensive back, some receiver,
Yep.
to get the team going. You know, Drew Brees got a little street in him. Okay?
Maybe that's where that scar came from.
He's got the team rocking. He's part of it. And so guys want to go to battle with Drew.
Yeah.
You know, they've withstood a lot of things down in New Orleans, Charlton. But Drew Brees has been strong and steady down there.
Yep.
Like you said, he's been scandal-free.
Yep.
Teammates want to party with him, want
Yep.
to play for him, Charlton.
Yeah.
What more can you ask?
I want to. There's a movie. It wasn't too long ago. It was about some guys that went to Las Vegas, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but I know Mike Tyson was in it, and they had a tiger instead of.
That's a hangover, right? That was stripped out of my life. I gave the guys the rights to do a movie with it, but I lived that day many times.
Okay, well, that might explain where Drew Brees' scar came from, Big C. I don't know if it was a hit or maybe hanging out with the hangover guys, but yeah, he's a good guy. I love to see. That might be the most watched game this weekend, just to see what perfection looks like, especially a team player that doesn't break the bank so that his team can't succeed, Big C. I really love seeing him succeed. You think about also, after Josh McDaniels was spurned by the Indianapolis Colts after the Super Bowl, they went out and hired Frank Reich from the other Super Bowl team, the Eagles. They meet tonight for the first time. Colts of 1-3, the Patriots 2-2. The Patriots they've been like that Drew Brees. They've been consistent. They're almost like sometimes you get that old hoopty that you want to start up. It may be hard to start up, and you got to warm it up a long time. The Patriots sometimes get out of the gate slow, but Big C, once they get warmed up, they're pretty tough to deal with. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they are warm. I mean, the Patriots, you know, they're getting plenty of people back tonight. Elderman will be back. You know, you got Gronk. Gordon, you know, played last week, had some productivity, Charlton.
Yeah.
Their running game was solid, over 220 yards rushing with Michelle and White, Charlton.
Yep.
Something they haven't done in a long time.
Yeah.
This defense will get better and better as the year goes on, Charlton. You got to realize they got a new defensive coordinator. Patricia's gone. He's in Detroit struggling as a head coach.
Yeah.
But this defense in
Yeah.
New England,
Yeah.
they know how to play, Charlton.
Yeah.
And as that offense gets untracked, people bury them every year. That's the thing. I think, you know, even Brady likes to have even more of a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
When people start counting him out. And I keep going back to Bill Belichick. Nobody's been eliminated from the playoffs. You know, I love that. I love that. And then every year come the playoffs,
Yep.
they, you know, the rest of the league be like, why couldn't we have started after week 4 when they were eliminated?
Yep, that's true, Big C. He sounds like Barry White when he's doing his press conferences. And when you think about what excellence looks like, the best NFL records in October over the past decade. We talk about baseball being the players that make their name. They make their name in October. Reggie Jackson, 3 home runs against the Dodgers back in the day. He's called Mr. October. The best NFL records in October over the past decade. You talk about New England, Green Bay, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh. Big C, your thoughts?
And all of those teams, Charlton, have had elite quarterbacks during that time. Everybody knows of Brady's legacies with the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Everybody's consistently talked about Aaron Rodgers being the best quarterback in football.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Drew Brees, we've already mentioned the records that he's going to eclipse and that he has eclipsed.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger has gone to 2 Super Bowls, Charlton, as a quarterback with the Steelers.
Yep.
You know, and I want to go back and look at Aaron Rodgers in this whole scenario, Charlton. You know, everybody's talking about Rodgers and McCarthy fighting.
They're not fighting.
And everybody said that, you know, Brady and Belichick was fighting during the offseason.
Right.
But when I look at this so-called beef with McCarthy and Rodgers, I look at it more of the struggles with Rodgers right now, Charlton, than it is with McCarthy.
Yeah.
Because Rodgers has always been noted for what? Ad-libbing.
Yep.
Getting outside the pocket. Making plays on the run. Making plays with his legs. But think about it, he wasn't a black quarterback. He wasn't a scrambling quarterback.
Right.
But he was making plays with his legs. He was extending plays. He can't do that anymore, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because of the injury to his leg. So he's become a pedestrian quarterback. And you look at his numbers that are going down, so everyone is blaming the receivers and the head coach.
Yeah.
Rodgers has lost half of his game, Charles. There was a time when he was pulling away from the center in the last game where he fell over.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get the push off the leg.
Yep.
So when you look at his game, it's become normal for a white drop-back quarterback. That's not how Aaron Rodgers made his bones in the NFL.
Yeah.
He made his bones, looking like he was a white quarterback, acting like he was a black quarterback.
Yep, and sometimes they discourage you when you're black and talented, but the Caucasian, they'll say, hey, he's just a very hard worker. I want to get your thoughts, Phil, against, you think about this weekend, the 5 best games this weekend in the NFL, it appears it might be the Jaguars. I mean, the Jaguars and Chiefs looks like it might be an AFC championship game. I know you can never count out New England, but I would say either the Jaguars or the Chiefs might be there, whether New England makes it or not. I just want to get your thoughts on how likely that might be, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the challenge comes up for the Chiefs offense every week. Can Mahomes keep it going, Charlton? He showed that he could come back from adversity last week versus Denver. Denver has a top-flight defense. Not just the defense in Denver, but the altitude that you also fight as an opponent.
Yeah.
Because the breathing is not easy. If you've ever been there and played a game, Charlton,
yeah,
you sit there and you got a horse on your back and a refrigerator. Okay? It's not easy when you come from sea level. It's Jacksonville defense, Charlton. I mean, you don't know which one is going to show up. It's a Jekyll and Hyde scenario with this Jacksonville defense.
Yeah.
They beat up on the Jets last week, but that offense is the one that's inconsistent. Think about it. They couldn't even score a touchdown against Tennessee 2 weeks ago.
I know it.
So if any remnants of this Kansas City offense shows up, you got to question whether Blake Bortles is your quarterback, Joe.
That's a very good point, Big C. How about the Vikings and the Eagles? These are two teams last year that were on top of the heat. And I got to say, you are the mystic because you went totally against the grain of the mainstream pundits from the mothership. The sports universe was right again. You said that when the Vikings brought in Kirk Cousins, they would destroy their organization because people tend to seek their habits. And when you have bad habits, they tend to find you, even though they might cover them up for a while. Some people call it lipstick on a pig, Big C. I'm not saying he's lipstick on a pig, and I'm surprised that you were able to carry a horse. You must be really strong, Big C. But you said it. You're the only one that said it, that he would destroy the Vikings organization, a team that was knocking on the door of the NFL championship game, the Super Bowl, Big C. Now, they have one win. One. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, it's what you spoke about earlier when you talked about quarterbacks giving back money.
Yeah.
You had a team that was cohesive last year. Financially, they were all in the same boat, Charlton. And this game, Charlton, is a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. The Eagles are not paying their quarterback the type of the money that the Vikings are.
Right.
Now, Kirk Cousins went out to Los Angeles last week and got outdueled by Jared Goff.
Yeah.
A quarterback who's making a tenth of what he's making. You realize Jared Goff's total rookie contract is what your cousin is making this year. He's making that over 5 years what your cousin is making this year. And now he's going into, Charlton, to a territory where the Philadelphia Eagles are. Carson Wentz came back. They lost last week in overtime, Charlton, to Tennessee, who has an excellent defense and a coach in Vrabel, and Mariota's not a bad quarterback.
Right,
so this is a scenario, Charlton, that Cousins, if he goes out and loses this game, Charlton, and the Vikings would be one
win,
3-1.
Yeah.
What's the answer at that point?
You like that?
Where's all the experts saying that, Kirk Cousins was the piece that was missing from the Vikings?
Yeah.
No, he's the piece that destroyed the Vikings if they don't win this week, Joe.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, they believe in what they want to believe, but you tend to be a guy that studies the facts. That's the one thing that irritates me about you. I can never beat you in a game of checkers because you just deal with the facts, Big C. But also, when you look at the Cowboys, at the Texans, you have Prescott and you have Watson, two dynamic quarterbacks. But they're at, this is a game for Texas. Texas loves football from Friday Night Lights all the way to high school, college, and the NFL. These two teams, something's got to give. They're both have so much promise to start the season. I want to get your thoughts on the feeling of football in Texas, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is an NFL game where you got two quarterbacks and they're both wearing the number 4.
Yeah.
And they're both minorities. How often will you get that? That's a rarity within itself.
Don't take that to Vegas, okay? Because that's just an ironic thing.
They both play in dome stadiums.
Okay, I got it. What you getting at?
There's all kinds of attributes to this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
You can just go out and build a story out of it.
Yep. They both got 4 fingers in a thumb.
You got 2 terrible offensive lines when it comes to pass blocking.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson has been hit the second most times of any quarterback in the NFL this season.
Yeah.
Houston has to find a way to keep him upright. You know, they don't talk about that when they talk about his struggles, is that he's been hit so many times and sacked so many times, Charlton.
Yeah.
They haven't developed a running game. This offensive line is just not doing the job. On the flip side, when you look at Dallas, Charlton, they got a great defense, so they got to put a lot of pressure on Deshaun Watson. But Sean Lee won't be in the lineup, so they're going to be weak in the middle.
Yeah.
You look at Dallas, Charlton. Dak Prescott has no receivers.
Yeah.
No receivers. That's his problem. Houston has an outstanding pass rush also.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson has a better receiving core, Charlton. And whichever quarterback loses this game, Charlton, is going to be maligned. I like Watson's chances in this game. They got off the snide last week, Charlton.
Yeah.
He has excellent receivers. I think he can get the ball to him, Charlton, if they give him the time.
If they give him the time. Think about the Atlanta Falcons and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this game is at Heinz Field, so you would think it might be a win for the Steelers. But sometimes Big Ben forgets who's on his team, and he tends to throw the ball to anybody, Big Z. But Ryan, you can say the same. He throws the ball way too much. But here you have 2 quarterbacks that, if you look at their combined salaries, they're both combined salaries are over $200 million. That's a lot for teams that can't win. I want to get your thoughts on who would be maligned by the media that comes up on the losing side of this game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Ben said he had to concentrate more on his skills. He had to work a little harder.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, Charlton, in his last 2 games, has put up at least 36 points in each one of those games and lost.
Yeah.
The Atlanta defense is really beat up, Charlton. I think they're without about 6 starters in this going into this game.
Yeah.
So they're really struggling.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh has struggled all year long, but they haven't been consistent offensively.
Yeah.
You know, Atlanta's talking about getting Freeman back in the backfield. They've run the ball solid. But the problem with Atlanta is Matt Ryan doesn't want to consistently run the football.
Yeah.
If he ran the ball more, Atlanta would not just be with 1 win on the season, Charlton.
Yeah.
So it comes down to Atlanta. If they're willing to run the ball, Charlton, at least 25 times in this game, they'll come out with a victory. They run it less, Pittsburgh can pick up 1 at home.
Yeah, that's always a good game to watch. I do want to say that sports is a $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this $1 billion industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around for 50 years, and they work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or even your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. The Miami Dolphins at the Cincinnati Bengals. In this Cincinnati team, Big C, they're legit. Your thoughts?
2 3-1 teams, Charlton, but I like what Cincinnati does defensively. Andy Dalton has been exciting as a quarterback all year long, Charlton. We saw Tannehill last week just barely able to muster up 100 yards.
Yep.
Will he be able to recover from that? But we know with this receiving core that Cincinnati has, Charlton, they lost Tyler Eifert last week, unfortunately, to a broken ankle.
Yeah.
So they got to find a replacement at tight end. But the 3 wideouts that Cincinnati has, Charlton, and if they get Joel Mixon back in the backfield to go along with Bernard, this game won't even be a contest.
Well, I can't wait to see the NFL, especially Drew Brees, Big Z. There's 6 teams that will not make the NFL playoffs. We always talk about the bright side of the moon, but when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, not only was he listening to Big C Sports, he saw the dark side of the moon, Big C. Some of the NFL teams looking at the dark side of the season that may not make the playoffs. Give me your thoughts, Big C.
Well, Charlton, I'm going to just throw my hat in the ring on the Buffalo Bills.
You really?
I'm take a wild guess and say this team that made the playoffs for the first time in 12 years last season
and they hated
will
it.
not make the playoffs this year. That's just a wild guess of mine.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I might get a lot of people, believe that also.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look at the Indianapolis Colts, Charlton, because they don't have a quarterback with an NFL caliber arm.
Yeah.
That right there, Charlton, is troubling. When you can't push the ball, yes, you play in a dome stadium, but you also got to play half of the season outside.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck can't throw the ball, and he doesn't have a running game, Charlton.
Yep.
And another friend of yours, Eli Manning. Eli, to me, is playing not to get hurt so he can retire healthy, so at least
where he can go out and outplay Peyton on the golf course.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because he'll have a better swing with the upper body. He hasn't had any surgeries up there.
Yep.
The New York Giants right now, Charlton, is a hapless team. They got great talent. They just don't have a quarterback that can utilize it. I'm going to look at Detroit Lions, Charlton.
Yep.
They were 9-7 last year. Missed the playoffs by one game. Fired the coach, Jim Caldwell.
What a bargain.
Brought in another coach, Charlton. They may not win half the games that they won last year, Charlton. They won
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
They might be lucky to win 5 this year, Charlton. So
Yeah.
is that a downgrade at the coaching staff?
What a
That's
bargain.
the
Yeah.
You look at the Arizona Cardinals, Charlton. They don't have any wins on the season. They're 0-4.
Yeah.
And they're already on their second quarterback. They're struggling to make adjustments offensively.
Yeah.
The defense is solid, but I don't see them getting anywhere close to the playoffs this year, Charlton. And then that third team out of the state of New York, Charlton.
Yeah.
They won that opening game this season.
Yeah.
They had the anointed one who was ready for the Hall of Fame, Sam
Yep.
Darnold.
Yep.
He thought he was still in college. He thought this was his senior year. He's still throwing interceptions, Charlton.
he might be dyslexic or colorblind, Big C. But the good old boys, they said when Helton said, he could do another year in Southern California just to work out knowing which player to throw to. Okay, Big C. And I think he was a little bit right, even though they thought he was throwing them under the bus. But we wish everybody is fair in love and war. Big C, there's something about the game college football. No matter what it is, it's just something, the pageantry. I saw what happened last week at Penn State, Happy Valley. The whiteout, over 100,000 to see Ohio State come in there and knock off the Nittany Lions, Big C. I want to get your thoughts on down south, the Southwest, the Red River rivalry, Big C, Oklahoma and Texas. Who has the best barbecue in Oklahoma and Texas? And how much will it cost to go see Oklahoma and Texas, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's a lot of animals that come up missing on this weekend, okay?
Yep.
I mean, you might find the hooves, but there's a lot of animals that come up missing for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why they call it the Red River Rivalry. You're out there watching them animals off in the river, okay? And it all
That's funny.
turns red.
Yep.
This is a fantastic game, Charlton, and you wonder why these universities make so much money.
Yeah.
The cheapest ticket that you can buy for this game, Charlton, $225.
Wow.
You think about that. $225 is the cheapest ticket that you're going to pay for a mid-season college football game. Not a bowl game, but this rivalry, Charlton.
Yeah.
The intensity of it, that it's a must-be-at event, for this region, for Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And this is a game that's every year it's on television because of the intensity.
Yeah.
Regardless of the ranking, Charlton, doesn't make a difference. Because we've seen the unranked team knock off the ranked team, but
Yep.
both of these teams are ranked, Charlton. Oklahoma's ranked high. Texas seems to be back in the football race.
Yep.
But this will let you know if they've come back all the way in this game, Charlton.
If Texas knocks off Oklahoma in this game, not only would they knock Oklahoma out of the national championship picture, but they would probably cement their legacy coming back for that great program down in Austin, Big C. Florida State at Miami, that used to be the marquee game. What? Right, Big C. Why are the ticket prices so high?
$105, Charlton, to get into this game.
What a bargain.
What a bargain, when you compare it to Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But, you think about Miami's not bad, Charlton. They're 4-1. They made a quarterback change last week, and the young guy has proven his mettle. Willie Taggart seems to have gotten Florida State turned around, Charlton. They've won a couple games. Mm-hmm. They're going out there. But, you think about these kids in Florida have grown up against each other their entire lives.
Yeah.
These are friends, these are family members, these are ex-neighbors. So that rivalry of wanting to be the pageantry for the bragging rights of the state of Florida. And you think about it came down between these two teams. The University of Florida was never even considered part of the rivalry, Charlton, because they didn't want to play either one of these teams because they were concerned it would hurt them in the SEC.
Yeah. I think about that, Big C. It's just great football. And that team that's, you always wait when you look at Notre Dame. When Notre Dame's good, college football's good. But you always wonder, they always drop that game. There's always a game they drop. They just had a big win against Stanford, an emotional win. And I hear they cut down the tree, but there was a Stanford player, is a mascot, so he might need some stitches. But Big C, Notre Dame, they have that it factor. But sometimes after a big win and then going on the road, it's hard to get up again. Does a Virginia Tech have a chance, especially that is a cheap ticket, Big C, $105?
Oh, yeah, that's a real cheap ticket, $105.
Compared to Texas.
But, going down to Blacksburg, Charlton, is not always an easy place to play. Bud Foster has always been known as a defensive guru.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Charlton, can put it on you. If you remember that opening game of the season, how they throttled Florida State.
Yeah.
Even though they got throttled by Citadel later on, but they seem to have bounced back, Charlton.
Yeah.
And if there's a trap game for Notre Dame, this is it. This is most likely the last ranked opponent that Notre Dame will play this season, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they can't be complacent in this game if they expect to stay undefeated and make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, they got by Stanford, they got by Michigan. They got to get this game, and then they got to get Southern California. That game would be in L.A. later in the season. Who knows how Southern California would be doing at that time. But is there any cheap ticket? I mean, if I go down to Texas, I got to spend, $225? If I only got $5, can I even see a game this weekend, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, we can sneak you into the University of Pittsburgh versus Syracuse.
Okay.
That's a $4 ticket. You think about it. $4 is the cheapest ticket.
What a bargain.
And you think about it. Syracuse is going to be smart in coming off that game against Clemson last week, Charlton, when they had them for 59 minutes and they let it get away.
Yeah.
Syracuse is a very solid team, Charlton. They've turned around that program up there. Favors, the coach, has done a marvelous job. And so this team will respond. Dungy at quarterback, I think he'll have a bounce-back performance at the University of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
We saw them get throttled by Penn State a couple of weeks ago, Charlton. But for $4, you can get in and have enough money to get a hot dog.
Oh, I thought the hot dog was included. All bets are off now. You at least toss them the hot dog down in Texas and Oklahoma. You got to toss them the hot dog for $225, Big C. When you look about what we just talked about, what college team is most vulnerable this weekend? Would it be, say, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, LSU at Florida? LSU is flying under the radar. They're hoping that Notre Dame can fall because if the posters come down to it, I mean, you still got to get past Auburn, Georgia, and Alabama, but everyone's trying to make sure Notre Dame is not there because they'll get the media's vote, Big C. Who has the biggest chance of an upset? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you always concern yourself with the Red River rivalry, but I think that Notre Dame is the most vulnerable, being down in Blacksburg.
Yeah.
That Red River rivalry is a neutral site.
Yeah.
But being down there in Blacksburg, Charlton, those Hokies down there in Virginia Tech, they can get a little rowdy. And, they have some moonshine back in the woods also.
Yeah.
So you never know what might be in that Gatorade on the sideline.
Notre Dame, bring your own Gatorade, especially when you see Buford T. Justice hanging out of the game, Big C. October, the NFL now enters its second month of the season. Who are the MVPs offensively and defensively? In your eyes, Big C, I know you're a defensive guy. I know you were a dirty player, but you were proud of it, Big C. Who hits your radar as maybe MVP type performance, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there was more grass when I played than there is asphalt. So, everybody was dirty to a degree.
Yeah.
But, if we look at that defensive side of the ball, Charlton, you got to look at Khalil Mack. What he has done for that Chicago Bears defense. They had an outstanding defense last season, Charlton. But they've become a great defense with him. And you think about it, the Bears are 3-1, Charlton, led by their defense.
Yeah.
This team has just been playing lights out. And when you look at Khalil Mack statistically, Charlton, he's going to set records if he keeps the pace that he's going. And as John Gruden said, it's hard to find a good pass rusher.
Especially one that knows on your team.
and John was correct. People didn't understand what John was saying. When he said it's hard to find a good pass rusher. He never talked to Khalil Mack, so he couldn't find him.
He couldn't find him.
That's what he meant. You got to read between the lines.
Yeah, you got to read between the lines.
When you look on the offensive side, Charlton, and Mahomes, Patrick has done all that you could ask of a quarterback in the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah.
1 interception, Charlton, 14 touchdown passes, bringing your team from behind, Charlton, for miraculous victories on the road. Think about it. 3 of the Chiefs' games, Charlton, were on the road.
Yeah.
So he didn't get those games at home. He got them in front of hostile crowds.
Yeah.
That's what you ask from your quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yep.
Win half your games on the road, win all your games at home.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
Yep.
He's won those games on the road, Charlton. Now he's going home this week, Charlton. So I would make him right now, the first month of the season, the offensive MVP of the NFL.
I think that's a good point. But I want to also credit you as the mystic because you were saying when he was at Texas Tech that he was doing his thing, and you said he would be a star player in the NFL. You didn't wait until week 3 and 4 like a lot of the people from the mothership. So good job with that on the Sports Universe. I've got to ask you a question because you brought it up. Big C, how long will Reggie McKenzie last as the Raiders GM? John Gruden said they wish they had drafted Derwin James. the safety for the Chargers. But the Raiders haven't drafted safeties in the previous 2 drafts in the first and second round. Here's a guy that's getting rid of almost everybody that McKenzie's brought on to that Raider organization. You know the Raiders will be lucky if they win 6 games this year. They got to find someone to blame. Is Reggie McKenzie going to be on the hot seat, or will Davis wake up and ask John to return some of that money? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this is the same guy that said he wanted to take football in Oakland back to 1986.
Yeah.
He didn't want to rely on analytics.
Yeah.
He wanted to go to old-style football. Well, those players that were playing in '86 for the Raiders are not going to come back and play it anytime soon.
No.
Okay, and when he took that line that he said he wished he had drafted Derwin James,
Yeah.
That's the same thing the Portland Trailblazers said when they had Clyde Drexler
Yep.
and said they wished they'd have drafted Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, the tale of 2 franchises right there.
Yeah.
And so John Gruden is letting you know that he didn't know what to do. I mean, you cut the safety that you drafted last year, so you could have drafted Derwin James,
Yeah.
and you would have had him, Charlton.
Yeah.
But you chose to draft an offensive tackle out of UCLA,
Yep.
penciling him in at left tackle, and everybody said you drafted him too high.
Yeah.
That you could have got him in the second or third round.
Yep.
But you knew what you were doing. And, you know, your offense hasn't been as productive. You're getting a lot of help from the refs in the last game. But Reggie McKenzie, Charlton, I can see this being his last year.
Yeah.
Because 29 of the players that were on that roster from Reggie McKenzie are gone now.
Yeah.
29 of them are gone now.
Yeah.
So John Gruden said, I don't want anybody that Reggie McKenzie drafted here. I want my own players here. I know what I'm doing. Reggie McKenzie is the odd man out in Oakland, Charlton.
Well, that's something that a lot of people have been talking about too, Big C. When I look at what's happening, we have the Dodgers playing again tomorrow against Atlanta. That's a great game. And again, you got the Colorado game with the Brewers, and that's a game that's gone down to the wire, Big C. I want to get your thoughts, though. Just give me your thoughts about tomorrow in Atlanta. Game 2, the Braves versus the Dodgers. The Braves are led by Raul Acuna, an all-star first baseman, Freddie Freeman. And you look at the Dodgers, we talk about the bullpen with Jensen, but I really hope that Yasiel Puig's house doesn't get robbed again. It happens every year. Whoever he has staying, that's the guy you look at, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, I'm looking at Atlanta in this game.
Yeah.
They're playing with house money.
Yeah.
You know, all the pressure's on the Dodgers when you realistically look at it. They were there in the World Series last year, and they couldn't get it done, Charlton.
Yeah.
They squeaked back into the playoffs this year. They haven't had a hot hand. The best thing that the Dodgers can do, Charlton, is not start Clayton Kershaw in Game 1. He hasn't panned out in Game 1s of series, Charlton. He's always left the Dodgers in a hole.
Yeah.
But when I look at Acuna, who's been a spark plug for Atlanta this year, Charlton, as well as Freddie Freeman, an all-star first baseman, they have the bat.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at. You know, you got a homegrown manager in Atlanta.
Yep.
This guy grew up in Atlanta, went to high school to Atlanta, Charlton. He's been with the Braves organization for 44 years.
Wow.
This guy is as hungry as any player to bring that title back to his hometown.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. It probably doesn't matter to you because you had a dirty mouth, too, when you played ball back in the day, Big C. When Yasiel Puig guarantees a win, I remember Ramsey last year in the NFL guaranteed a win at New England, and it almost came true until the officials realized, wait a minute, we got to pay for the stadium, and somehow they gave up a 10-point lead in the fourth, Big C. But with Yasiel Puig, did he write a check that maybe they can't cash? They're going down to the South. Has he ever heard of that Southern Justice, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, justice in baseball is a little different, but the strike zone
Yep.
is something you got to worry about also. You know, Yasiel Puig hasn't always delivered in the playoffs, Charlton. He was sluggish last year in the playoffs. I mean, Turner, to me, for the Dodgers, Charlton, leads that team.
Yeah.
It goes through him. You know, when that third baseman is hot, just like that beard that he has, Charlton.
Yep.
You know, he's that motivational leader for the team. They got to get on his back and ride him.
Yeah, they got to do that, Big C. I know, I like what you said about Kershaw. If it comes to performance, even Kershaw, I know the Cy Young guy, and everybody says that he's like the Southern version of the Say Hey Kid, a.k.a. Willie Mays. If you're not winning in a performance-based business, at what point in time will these players go back to the organization and saying, I'm making $34 million a year, and I'm not helping you win? Will we ever see the character of a player saying, I'm stealing too much money, let me give up some money and bring in another closer? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's not like it used to be. Years ago when guys of my age were playing, owners and coaches would tell you, look, you know, you're making too much money. We're going to need you to take a pay cut.
Yep.
If you don't take a pay cut, we're going to cut you.
Yeah.
okay, we're going to let you know. We're going to let you go out and play this game because we need you.
Yep.
But if you're not willing to come in and restructure that contract on Monday, we're going to cut you on Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. It doesn't happen like that anymore, Charlton. The players' union fights for different things, but that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
They would come to you and demand that you took a pay cut. But now they can't do that, Charlton.
Yep. Well, I know it's all fair in love and war. We love so much about this country. In closing, I want to say to the Tuskegee Airmen, formed in 1941, they fought in World War II as a trained Air Force Combatant 337 Fighter Group, 447 Bombardment Group of the United States Air Force, considered the best fighting group in the history of the universe. Tuskegee Airmen, Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, last night in Washington, they had a throwback tribute to Prince. They partied like it was 1999. The Washington Capitals, Charlton, hosted their Stanley Cup banner last night. They spilled a little champagne on the ice. There was still some left in the cup that Ovechkin brought it in and stuff. But they came out, Charlton. They put on a blistering performance last night against the Boston Bruins in a 7-0 shutout to celebrate their winning their first Stanley Cup, Charlton, in the franchise existence.
Well, hopefully next time, if they win it again, maybe Ovechkin will share that cup. You know how people share the vibranium? If you can share every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.